Hey there, I'm Brian, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a The Call Discography Retrospective. So I know that a lot of people on my channel are fans of The Call, and that's because back in 2012 I uploaded their entire discography to my YouTube channel, and ever since then I've seen a lot of The Call fans just congregate on my channel and talk about The Call and talk about how certain songs have affected them, and it's actually really cool to see how many fans are out there for a fairly underrated group from the 80s, probably one of the most underrated groups. Um, so, in this video, I'm going to talk through their discography and just kind of give my general thoughts on each record, kind of give a ranking as well for where I place each album in their discography. And don't get me wrong, like, I love every single record that they put out, without a doubt. So, even if a certain album is my least favorite, it still means I love that record. Like, they do not have a bad record in their catalog. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. I don't know if how many people are going to like this format that I'm going to go for. I'll leave that up to my subscribers. Just leave comments if you like this, if you'd like to see me do discography retrospectives for any other groups. I'm pretty big music nerd, so there's lots of artists that I've listened to full discographies of, or at least the majority of the discography that I could like finish off and then do a video on. I just kind of like this content. I've been seeing other YouTubers, lots of other YouTubers in the music reviewing community do full discography reviews, and there's a lot of appeal to it for me. It's kind of cool to just see someone run down an entire artist's discography and kind of talk about each of the albums and what it represents to the greater whole of the artist and their output. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to talk about their first record from 1982 entitled The Call. So The Call formed in 1980 in Santa Cruz, California, and it only took them 2 years to put out this, their debut record entitled The Call. And the trio of Michael Bean on lead vocals, Tom Ferry on guitar, and Scott Music on drums stayed consistent throughout their entire career. At this point, Greg Freeman was on bass. But anyway, this record is a dark record. That's the best way I can describe it. It's their most post-punk record that they ever put out. And it's got some amazing tracks on it. For me, the best tracks, my favorite two, are the opener and closer, War Weary World and Waiting for the End. Both of those ones have such bleak imagery to the lyrics, and just the guitar and the overall sound of all the instruments in it. It just creates a very kind of dystopian type of aura. I don't know. This record for me, it is my least favorite The Call album, only by a narrow margin. But it kind of creates, as I already said before, a feel of dystopia, but also kind of it always gives me the feeling of being like a really dirty city, like kind of almost like a slum or something, like late at night. It always gives me that type of feeling. And when this album works, it works really well. As I said, the opener and the closer. But also, I really like kind of the more propulsive songs on here, such as Bandits and Unbearable. Those two, they're rockers. I mean, they're really upbeat, but they're still dark. There's still a darkness to it. And I really like the lyrics on this album are just, I think this is the darkest that The Call ever was. It's not, they do have other dark records, but this is the most dirty, dingy, kind of grungy album that they ever put out. But it's very post-punk, and even though it is my least favorite, it is very good. There's no doubt about that. There's just certain songs for me that don't quite click. Like, throughout the years, I've always struggled to really get into songs like There's a Heart Here or This Is Life. But, you know, you can't go wrong with this record. At this point, they were signed to Mercury Records, and you know what? For a debut, this is a great debut. Most bands would be lucky to have a debut this good. So yeah, The Call from '82 is the first record up on the docket. And second is Modern Romans from '83, their second album. I'll let you take a look at that backside. Got the vinyl of this one as well. And this album is fantastic. It goes to show how great this band really is when an album this great is actually my fifth favorite record of theirs. That's primarily because I'm not too big on Destination. That track I've never really got the appeal of. I can see how some people could like it. It's just not really for me. Every other track, though, fantastic. This is an album I could just do the track by track breakdown on and tell you why each song is great. The Walls Came Down is just, it was kind of their first commercial success that they had, and it's very triumphant. It's really the first absolute, like, pure moment of joy that the band has. But it's about war. It's still got that dark undertone from the first record. It's still there, but they're just bringing some more life to it. There's some more light and just some more happiness to the general sound. And then there's Turn a Blind Eye, the second track, probably in my top 20 Call songs. I love this song. Just the bass on it, the beat, it's just very driving. It's just very aggressive, and I really like that about that track in particular. When I was younger, it was always one of my favorites of theirs, and it's still one of my favorites. Time of Your Life, that's a really good one. Modern Romans, the title track, is fantastic. The kind of descending main guitar riff is just really meaty and just really hooks you into the song. And one thing about this record is you can just tell, even in that year between their first album and this one, there's just been a step up in the songwriting. The songwriting and song crafting on this record is just fantastic. Like, there's not a throwaway line on any of these songs. They're all meaningful. You can tell that Michael Biehn is already expanding as a vocalist. All the things he's capable of hitting, the notes he's capable of hitting, the way that he sings the notes. It's just, you can tell that they were growing at this point at an exponential rate. Back from the Front. This album deals a lot with war. That is kind of how I view this record. This is their war record. So a lot of the lyrics deal with battles, and Violent Times, that track as well. It's like, it has that whole entire middle section where it's kind of slowing down, it's getting dreary, and then all of a sudden it's just like a bomb goes off. I remember the first time when I was younger and I got this album, because I didn't have this one until I was in my teenage years, and I got this record and I heard that bomb go off in Violent Times. I should be like, whoa, all right, that's an interesting choice that stuck with me. Face to Face, very post-punkish on that track. This album, as I said, their last one is their most post-punk record, but on this album, they kind of introduced more new wave into the sound, but Face to Face could have fit very snugly on the first record in a great way. It's a very good song. And All About You, it's just, it's a cool song, kind of topically. It's almost like a post-punk love song, and I really like all the things that Michael just kind of compares his love for this one person to all these other things that he doesn't really care about, but he's all about that person. So yeah, just front to back, this record is great. Definitely, it's a good starting point, I would say. If anybody's looking to get into the Call, this could be a really good place to start. But yeah, Modern Romans, definitely one of their highlights in their, I mean, their whole entire career is full of highlights, but yeah, definitely check this one out if you haven't checked it out in full yet. All right, so next up, we got the Call's third record from 1984, Seen Beyond Dreams. Got that one on vinyl as well. And I like this album a little bit more than Modern Romans. It's my fourth favorite Call album. I think the main reason for that is the interplay between the band members. There's moments like on Tremble, where Michael sings a phrase and Tom will kind of reiterate it on guitar. There's things like that just throughout the record, just these moments where you can tell that they're really starting to mesh well together as a band, as like a full band. On this record, you can definitely see more of a lyrical shift as well. Michael's lyrics stop dealing with real world problems and start dealing more with just spirituality. That's how I look at this album. Is probably their most spiritual record. Michael's singing lines like, does one life lead to another, one life lead to the next. Speaking of which, that is my favorite track on the album, is One Life Leads to Another. That track is just great. Like the drumming on that track, the guitar, bass, just everything. You can tell they're really just starting to groove together as a full band. Some other highlights on this record for me are Apocalypse. I like a lot. Apocalypse is like the most gospel-esque song that the Call had written up to this point, for sure. And is one of the only Call songs where you really hear some acoustic guitar. I really like the acoustic guitar on there. It kind of switches things up as you're listening to the album. Sonically, this album has a lot more synthesizer than the last two. There's synthesizer on the last two for sure, but it's more at the forefront on this record and might actually have the most synthesizer out of any album in their entire catalog. But I like the inclusion of all the synth on this record. It really works well with what they're going for. So yeah, I don't know if I'd say that this is a good starting point for anyone looking to get into the Call. I would probably say that Modern Romans would actually be a better bet for newcomers, but when you get to know the Call and you get familiarized with their discography, this album really does open up to you. Because I remember when I was younger, this album actually wasn't as big of a favorite of mine, and over time, it's only revealed itself more and more. It's a grower. And yeah, so I definitely suggest checking this one out. If you're new to the Call, probably not right away, but definitely give it a shot after you're familiarized with more of the catalog, for sure. All right, next up, we have, at least in my opinion, the Call's first true masterpiece that they created. From 1986, Reconciled, their fourth record. Look at the art here. This is one of the very first records as a child that I gravitated towards, and I think part of it was due to this art. The album art is really good. The baby on the front and the twister on the back both captivated me as a kid. It's an album that I had around the house a lot when I was younger. And yeah, this album kind of carries on a lot of the themes that were on the last record, a lot of the spiritual themes and whatnot. But this album is just produced perfectly. The drums are set at the perfect booming volume to just bring every song to life. And just everyone is just at their A game. Now for me, this is my second favorite Call album. There is one that I do like more, and I'll get to that in a bit. But for me, this is my second favorite. But really, my first and my second favorite, it depends on my mood. There are certain days where I'd take the first one over the second one, and there are days where I'd take this one over that one. It really just depends on my mood. So yeah, for me, this album, there's no better way to do it than to just run through the tracks, because every single track on here is killer. Like, this is top to bottom fantastic. All right, so we got from the first track, Everywhere I Go. The moment those drums kick in and just the guitar, the bass, especially the middle part of the song where the bass comes back in. And I think everybody who knows the song knows the part I'm talking about. It just gives me chills every time that bass comes back in and then they go into that final chorus. And just the little intricacies, like even in this song alone, when they're going to the end and Michael's voice starts to waver And it's just by the end, it's almost like you've been through like you've been put through the ringer and you're just like almost out of it. But then it just the album the flow of this record too. All my favorite albums of all time, they all have a flow that works logically. There's a way that each song goes into the next, and the way that it makes you feel creates an irreplaceable feeling. And that's what this album does, because it's like after Everywhere I Go, after that like punch to the face that is a first track, you get the second track, I Still Believe, which is probably their most well-known song. Just lifts you up. It just gives you all the hope that you could want, and it feels great. That bass that comes in, just the way that yeah, this sorry, this album is just amazing. But yeah, those first two tracks in particular are just, I don't know how anybody would have heard this back in the day and not been like, I got to hear the rest of the album from here, because it's just like those two tracks are phenomenal. Um, and yeah, I Still Believe is just kind of about, as I said before, not giving up hope. Blood Red America. I don't know. This song to me has always kind of been about being caught red-handed. That's the way I think of it. Maybe there's some more political undertones, but at least as a child, that's always how I thought of it. It's like you got caught for doing something wrong, and it's kind of about dealing with that feeling. I don't know if I'm wrong in feeling that way, but that's the way I've always interpreted it. Maybe it's just because I was a child and that's how I interpreted it, but that's how it still stays. Another very favorite of mine is The Morning, the fourth track. Just the guitar riff on there and the way the drums kick in. It's just, I don't even know what this song is about necessarily. Love it. It's just because a lot of Michael Bean's writing at this point was very metaphorical. So you hear it and it conjures up images in your mind. I mean, it takes a true talent to actually be able to say, create a very specific mood and atmosphere. For me, this song, it makes me think about early morning with the sun rising, but it's almost like threatening in a way. Like this album has a way of making you feel a bit of unease. It's actually one thing that The Call does really well, is gives you the perfect amount of unease. Like when you listen to the music, you aren't completely content, and it almost draws you in because there is that almost threatening vibe sometimes, and a lot of times it goes away. And I mean, there's songs like I Still Believe that don't have any of that are just uplifting, but it almost makes those moments more impactful, the fact that they're able to create that tension in their music. On to side two. Oh boy, I used to listen to this as a kid. Used to listen to this a ton. I probably listened to this more than the A side, because I just loved Oklahoma as a kid. I still love it. It's still a great song, but it's not like one of my all-time favorites now. But when I was a little kid, used to love the song Oklahoma, and the way it counts in the song, used to love that as a kid. That whole song's kind of just about a tornado just tearing down on a town, and just you don't know if you're going to be safe or not. And yeah, no, that song is fantastic song. If you haven't heard that one, definitely check that one out. I mean, as with this whole entire record. With or Without Reason is really cool. The bass that comes in, just the echoey effect on it, and then the way it just builds from there. As I talked about before, that feeling of unease that The Call can create. This is like a prime example of that unease. Sanctuary, really good track. Tore the Old Place Down. I wanted to highlight that one. That is just, it brings about a feeling, for me at least, of remember where you, like a feeling that makes you be like, remember where I came from. Be thankful for where you came from, because it might not always be there. They tore the whole place down. It's something that kind of reconnects you with where you came from. And I find that really beautiful. It's a song that sticks with me a lot. And I love the drum beat in it, because it's very just, it's almost like marching. It's like a marching drum beat, but the way that the rest of the instruments play off of it, you know there's some sorrow there as well. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the call. I think that they know how to make you feel those feelings of unease, but they also know how to make you feel joy. Like they know that perfect balance and where that's at. And so few bands can actually get on that balance. And they do it perfectly. And the closer, even now, oh god, this this song is really good. The whole line, all the lines about running, just it does make you feel like you're being chased almost, but that like it'll be okay in the end. That I think that's what this album represents to me. It's a battle between just unease and joy. Like, and sometimes that's how life is. And I don't know, I didn't even realize that until now, but yeah, that's how this album kind of what it represents to me. I mean, even here, it's represented in the cover. You got the baby on the front, something of joy. Then on the back, you got the tornado. Duality of life, I guess. I just kind of realized that just now, which is pretty cool. But yeah. Um, you know what? I said Modern Romans might be a good starting point, and I guess if you're trying to go from understanding the band and where they came from, maybe Modern Romans might be the best place to start still. But I would say if you're just wanting to jump on with the best that the call has to offer, that'll also just be very hooky and very immediate. I'd say probably Reconciled is your best bet. I think there's a reason why this hooked me in even as a child. I think there is something in this record that just can hook almost anyone in who hears it. There's an immediate quality about it. So yeah, if you're looking to get into the call, that might be the very best place to start. Sorry this one went on so long. We'll continue on now. All right, and up next, we have my personal favorite The Call record, Into the Woods from 1987. Yeah, this album for me is just the last album, as I said, it was the battle between unease and joy. This album is just the dark night. It is not knowing if you're going to make it through. I know I said earlier that their first record is their darkest. I'd actually say it's probably just even with this one. They're just dark in different ways. The first album is dark in the way that it's looking at the world and it's like there is no hope for humanity almost. Whereas this album is more of an internal struggle. It's the internalized battle. That is what I view this record as. So for me, as a kid, I was into Reconciled and I was into Let the Day Begin. I was into both of those records, and it wasn't until I was probably about 11 or 12 and I was listening to The Call more. I had an iPod at that point, and then I was listening to them on my iPod, and then I was like trying to get more into their stuff, and I knew that there was one record that as a kid I never really gravitated towards too much. I always found it to be very dark and didn't really find too much to get out of it, unlike Reconciled. But when I went back to it as a teenager, it was perfect. I remember hearing this again and just being like, wow, it's just the difference of tone. I think that's the thing. That Reconciled and Let the Day Begin, they could be more easily understood by a little kid. Into the Woods is the Call's most mature record. I would say that without a doubt. It's their most mature and it's their most dark. I'd actually compare it a lot, at least in structure, to The Cure's Disintegration. I don't know if I'm probably alone in that, but that's something. Disintegration is one of my favorite albums of all time, and I find this album to be very similar, kind of in the way that it approaches. It's like I said in the last episode, all my favorite albums of all time, they all have a very specific format and a very specific setup to make you feel something. And this album is very much for me personally, I don't know if Michael meant it to be taken this way, but there's a lot of nihilism in this record. There's a lot of internalized depression. And I guess I should just go through the tracks. So starting with the first track, I Don't Wanna. This is my favorite Call song. There's no doubt about it. Just when you put this one on, especially when I put it on vinyl and I play it downstairs, it's so powerful. Just the drums, the build of the song from the string part that comes in, and just the way that he starts singing around that, and then the full band just kicks in, and by the end, it's life affirming. Like, it's devastating, but it's also life affirming. And to be able to pull something like that off is just insane. It's just the amount of feelings that song can make me feel is just, it's through the roof. So yeah, that's my favorite The Call song, like, without a doubt. Yeah, real gem there. Definitely listen to that. If you take anything away from this video, listen to that song. I Don't Wanna. All right, second song, In the River. This song is messed up. Like, this song it kind of almost has like a bit of a gospel feel to it, but it's not really gospel. It's just dark. To me, it's always just been like, it makes me think of like older times in history where like you didn't know if you'd have enough food to eat and you're all just gonna drown in the river. Like, you don't know if you're even gonna survive to the next day. That's what this album is. This album is like, am I gonna survive? It's like, I mean, the river could represent just depression, whatever you want it to. Maybe it is just a literal river, but for me, since I think of this album more in an internal sense, that's what I kind of take away from it. Third track, It Could Have Been Me. Oh, the drums on this track. The drums on this track are awesome. Just the lyrics are kind of, it's weird because the lyrics are dark, but they're actually very much appreciative of what you have. Like, this song is, it could have been me in any of these bad situations. That's pretty much what this song's about. So, in a way, even though it's very dark, it is very much like, it makes you appreciate what you got. And also, the guitar solo on this track is killer. Just crank that thing, and it's awesome. Then the kind of title track, The Woods, not Into the Woods like it's titled, but The Woods, is incredible. The echo effects on the guitars, the way that Michael just uses his words to build imagery. Like, I always, when I hear this song, it's the perfect example. They chose this cover art perfectly, because when I hear this song, I think of that forest. I think of being in that forest, and there's a fire, and like, it's like, you don't know if you're going to make it out of that dark night. That's what I've always thought of this record as. It's like, it was a dark night, and I don't know if I'm going to make it out alive or not. That's how this album feels to me. And at the end of The Woods, when all the guitars are echoing off of each other, it actually brings a little bit of a feeling of hope. Like, there's, when it closes out, and it's beautiful. That song, definitely, probably in my top 5 Call songs, at least. Day or Night, probably my least favorite track on the record if I were to pick one, but it adds some levity. The bass is really cool. I mean, all the hooks are there. It's fantastic. I just think it's kind of, out of all 9 of these tracks, it might be the most non-essential one, but it's still amazing. Like, it's still a great song. Memory is sad, dude. Memory, at least for me, makes me think of someone passing on and just wishing that you could have been there for them more, or that you would have cherished the moments that you had with them. And to me, that's just so sad. Like, and they capture that feeling perfectly with the strings, and it's just it makes you want to cherish those things that you still have in life and those people that you still have before they're gone. You know, that's what that song makes me think of. Too Many Tears. Too Many Tears is awesome, dude. The guitar solo, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes through this song is killer. Is an amazing guitar solo. That's one thing that this album has on Reconciled is the guitar solos. In this one are just amazing. Like Reconciled has some great ones too, but like when I think of I want to hear the Call doing some great, fantastic guitar work, I go to Into the Woods. Um, yeah, Too Many Tears. I mean, the title kind of describes it all. It's just about dealing with having to be sad over too much time till it just takes a toll on you. That's pretty much what it's about. Expecting. Expecting's a really cool song. I remember when I was younger, I didn't get it too much, and then over time, it just grew. And to me, it's really cool because it's almost like a commentary. Is that the right word? It's a statement on love. It's that battle that you might have between your expectations of someone and what they can actually provide, and how that can end up hurting a relationship. And that's it's a really deep kind of thought exploration. Like I don't know, that song is kind of it's more relationship centric. At least that's the way I view it. And it's kind of about how you could end up hurting the person you're with because of your expectations. So yeah, and at the end of The Dark Knight, we got Walk Walk, which is easily the most upbeat. Well, there is Day or Night. Day or Night's not too dark, but Walk Walk is like that triumphant, you know what, we made it and we're happy now. And it's very old fashioned kind of almost 50s rock and roll. That's what I think of when I hear it. And it's kind of like a celebration of, you know what, we made it through. And you know, Walk Walk is really kind of a sign of things to come because the sound on the song is very much kind of reminiscent of what was about to come on Let the Day Begin. But Walk Walk, just got some awesome guitar work. Like there's just some really good guitar work on that track, just all over the place. And yeah, man, this for me is my favorite Call album. As I said, for me, between Reconciled and this, it could just depend on the day. But yeah, I'm gonna go with this as my number one officially. Just means a whole lot to me. And yeah, definitely maybe not a starting point for you. Maybe if you listen to Reconciled first, then this would be a good second point. Maybe. Just know that it's going to be dark. I think that's the best thing for anyone who hasn't listened to it. Just go into it and know it's going to be dark. All right, next up we have the Call's sixth record from 1989, Let the Day Begin. Unfortunately, I do not have this one on vinyl or CD. Really want to get it on vinyl. Used to have the CD when I was a little kid. I don't know where it is now, but used that CD so much as a little kid that one point the album sleeve was missing, and so all I even would have if I still had it was just the CD, but I don't know where even that's at. So, but that just goes to show you how much I listened to it as a little kid. Yeah, this album was very. I think this is the one that a kid would most likely gravitate towards the most. For me, when I was younger, my aunt used to live here, and she would go chasing me around when we would listen to You Run. We'd run around in the room out there, and yeah, I got some memories like that associated with this record. And that song, You Run, is just fantastic. Um, Probably in my top five Call songs, just for the lyrics alone. The lyrics to that song are just beautiful. The way that Michael words things, it just he knows how to make you think and how to make you analyze the beauty of things. Um, but yeah, this album is probably their most commercial sounding record by probably their most commercial sounding record. But that is not a slight against it. This is my third favorite record, and to me, it is a perfect record. There's not a single song I'd ever consider skipping over. My least favorite track on the record is probably Same Old Story, but even that is great. The hook on it's great. It's got some cool organ work in it. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on in this record, so I'm going to break it down from the get-go, from the first track. We got Let the Day Begin. Fantastic song. Just love the opening lick and how it goes from the bass, and then when the guitar and drums hit, and then it just all breaks into the song. And this whole entire song is about being thankful, just in general, being thankful for the world around you, just letting the day begin because there is beauty in life, which is what needed to happen after Into the Woods. You can't go that dark and stay that dark. There's got to be development. And that's the thing about the Call's discography. They're always evolving, they're always changing, they're always moving somewhere and trying to go forward. And so yeah, You Run, already mentioned that one. Love that song. Surrender's really cool with the little organ intro and then the way that everything kicks in. The production on this record is pretty cool. Everything is really crisp and at the forefront. This is a pretty immediate record. Anyone who just listened to this and didn't know the Call, this could be a really good starting point, actually. As long as you're more into the 80s commercial mindset. You want to hear the big drums. You want to hear the synthesizers. You want to hear stuff like that. When's a really cool song. There's a part in the song where Michael lets out this note. That's one of my favorite notes he hits in like any Call song, where it's just high up. Just a lot of his vocal inflections on this album in particular are really cool. He was just kind of experimenting with what he could even do with his range. At this point, he's just a professional with everything he does and the way that he approaches songwriting. Jealousy. This is one of my favorites. I mean, most of them are on this record, but yeah, Jealousy just has this really cool feeling to me. It's almost like it's jazzy in a way, but it definitely has some more depth to it. It is dark in a way. I mean, it is about jealousy, just straight up. It's about jealousy, but the way that Michael words things, the line about the coldness in my room, that line always just strikes me. I don't know why. I get that one in my head like every now and then. Just really good line. Talked about Same Old Story a bit. I do like that one. As I said, probably my least favorite. For Love is really cool. Really like a lot of the guitar work on For Love. Let's see, Closer. Oh, Closer. This is a really good one. For me, it's like, I don't know, like there's a point in life you want to reach. That's what this song is about. It's like, I got to get closer to what I want to find. I think it is supposed to be more of a love song, but to me, that's kind of how I've always read it, is like, I want to be closer. Yeah. Communication, pretty cool song. Watch is kind of bluesy, almost. And there is more of that. To me, this album, even though it's like more traditional pop rock, it's also got more of a kind of blues rock vibe to it, which would actually be explored even more on their next record. But it's got more of that to it. And then Uncovered, the final track, this is like a lullaby. Like, it's like a beautiful lullaby sung by Michael, which is perfect. I mean, his voice at this point is just perfection. And it's a really good one. Makes me think a lot. I associate this band with my childhood a lot because they were one of the bands that I listened to as a kid. And yeah, this song for me is very comforting. I could imagine this is the song you'd want to play for your newborn. That's the best way I could describe Uncovered. Yeah, it's a really really good song for off of a really good record. This is a really good record. Definitely can't go wrong with this. As I said, it's my third favorite. It is behind Reconciled and Into the Woods. Doesn't quite get to the heights that those do, but it is still technically, in my opinion, a perfect record. There's not a skippable track on here. All right, next up, we got the Call's seventh record, 1990, Red Moon. Pretty good record. My second to least favorite from them, but as I said earlier, even my least favorite Call album is still good. So, this album is more blues oriented. That's the best way to describe it. Imagery it usually conjures up in my mind. It's kind of like the cover. I picture like being in a canyon late at night. If you like that vibe, kind of campfire vibe, even, it kind of has a little bit of that in there. At least for me, it does. So anyway, let's go from the top. First track, "What's Happened to You." Favorite song on the record. Awesome song. Has backup vocals from Bono, of all people. And yeah, really like the groove on that one. Just good song all around. Red Moon, second track, really good. Got that piano, just the piano in that song is gorgeous. You Were There, third track. I'm not gonna lie, never been super into this one. I can kind of get it. I kind of like it, but not too much. Floating Back, fourth track. Awesome. Love the bass lick on it. The bass lick just drives the whole song forward, and Michael's lyrics about wanting to be back in a better day. I connect with songs like that. I mean, it's kind of similar in theme like that, at least for me, to Closer off the last record, wanting to be closer to something better. But this one's almost like I'm going back in time, more of a nostalgic feeling song. Swim in the Ocean. Swim in the Ocean's pretty cool. I like that song quite a bit. Uh, just kind of bluesy, very bluesy on that track. Like You've Never Been Loved. It's a quaint little song. I guess that's the best way I'd put it. It's very feels very 70s. It feels like it could have been written by, like, I don't know, any number of classic 70s groups. Seventh track, Family. Family's a good song. It's interesting. It's just kind of like, I don't know. It almost feels like Michael's letter to his family and how he wishes sometimes they get along better, almost, and also being thankful for his family at the same time. I can vibe with that. This Is Your Life, possibly my least favorite The Call song. I'm not sure. It's one of them. It's one of my very least favorites. Don't have much to say about it. The Hand That Feeds You, cool song. Bluesy yet again. I like the bass, a lot of the bass tones on this record. Just against some of the more organic instrumentation on like pianos and guitars that it's in here, the bass has more of an electric feel, and sometimes it adds like a cool slick texture almost. And I get a lot of that in this track in particular. And then What a Day to close it off. What a Day is pretty cool. Nice little track. I wasn't too into it when I was younger, but it's grown on me over time, and it's just got a good groove. I like the horns. There's some horns on this record too, like more than before, on other records of theirs. So yeah, just more bluesy. If you're more into blues rock, maybe this is the place for you to start, is with Red Moon. Yeah, good solid record. I definitely recommend it. All right, and last but not least is the eighth studio album by The Call, To Heaven and Back. Not a bad record to go out on at all. This is my sixth favorite from them. There's a lot of uplifting stuff on here, and also a lot of dark stuff. It's just kind of an even mix. It really kind of is like, it is like, you look at it and it's like a culmination of almost everything they did. It's got a little bit of everything. That's the way I look at it, at least. Yeah, so this came out in 97. Last album came out in 1990. In between that time, Michael Biehn was doing some soundtrack work, also put out a solo record. Yeah, and they got back together for their last record in 1997. Um, so I guess I'll start from the top. It's a good record. Um, Soaring Bird, really good song. I like the message of this one. We're all in search of a soaring bird, like almost that. I think that's a lot of what the call sings about is wanting to get to someplace better. And I don't know. I mean, that's life. That's what everybody wants. We're all in search of a soaring bird. Couldn't have put it any better myself for sure. Criminal. Criminal's cool. The whole criminal is the name for what you've done to me. Kind of, Michael got hurt by someone or something, and that's kind of what that song's about. Uh, Love is Everywhere. Love is Everywhere is beautiful. I mean, it's what the title says, love is everywhere, but it's really, really nice and just smooth and just makes you feel good. World on Fire. World on Fire is cool. Just kind of a little basic rocker, but works pretty well. Think It Over. Think It Over is really cool. It's like it almost feels like an 80s ballad to me, like done in the 90s. But like it feels like almost like a Cars song or something. Actually, I think they do have a song named Think It Over, but anyway, that's what it makes me think of, is almost like an 80s ballad done in the 90s. So, must have been out of my mind. Meh. I'm kind of meh on that one. It's okay. There's not really too much to it. As for the next song, I don't know if it's my favorite on the record, but it's either my favorite or my second favorite. Is All You Hold On To. Fantastic song. This is them going back to that. Almost, it reminds me of something off of Reconciled. I don't know why, that's just what it feels like. It doesn't feel exactly like that, but if I were to compare it to any record, probably would be Reconciled. I love just the guitar lick, the do 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 do. It's almost just, it's like such an awesome riff, and just the whole song, All You Hold On To is all that holds on to you. Just that whole sentiment is just cool. Compromise. Compromise is a pretty neat tune. Very upbeat, very, very happy. That just the vibe of it is just very happy. Become America. Cool song, still relevant. It's just kind of that idyllic view of what you wish America, what I think a lot of Americans wish America could be, because there is a lot of corruption and a lot of stuff still wrong. And it's kind of almost like Michael Bihn's prayer for America to someday become what it should be, how great it should be. And What Are You Made Of? It's okay. It's all right. It's probably my second to least favorite after Must Have Been Out of My Mind. And then tied for my first or second favorite is Confession. Really good song, but a really dark note to go out on. Like, this is their last song, and Confession is what they go out on. It's a dark way to go out, but like it kind of goes back. I think it's perfect that they have a dark song as their last song, because how did the call start? They came in with War Weary World. So do you expect them to go out on some happy statement? No, this is what's fitting. At their core, the call has always been a dark band that can also be happy. And I feel like there's nothing on Red Moon that is anything like, nothing on Let the Day Begin or Red Moon that is like anything on Into the Woods. There's at least a few tracks on To Heaven and Back that come close to that darkness. And actually, Confession might be even darker. Confession is just Michael feeling like he failed, which is the furthest from the truth. Like, I don't think he wrote it about them and their music, but Michael, it just never failed. Like, the Call are amazing. They're an amazing group. They always evolved. They always found a way to move forward, and they made some of the most beautiful music of all time doing it. And It's just amazing what they did, and this is a great note to go out on To Heaven and Back. And with that, that is all for this discography retrospective. I will want to know how my subscribers like this, so go ahead and leave comments, guys. I know I might not be the best at doing this yet, but I figure this is a good place to start. I'm only gonna get better from here, hopefully, talking about music. I hope I'm not too bad to listen to, but I figured I'd give this a shot. So just let me know what you think. If you want more discography retrospectives in the future, just let me know in the comments. Let me know if there's any artists you'd like to see me cover. I'm totally open to anything. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. If you watched this far, then thank you. It means the world to me that anybody would watch this far. So appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.